About the phone call I had today with the legendary Curtis Sasaki. We both worked together at General Magic and before that at Apple Computer. Now I'm just going to scroll down. I want to start from the very beginning of his career so you guys can see how legendary and special it would be to get to work with Curtis Sasaki on our team. He started at Apple Computer back in 1984, which was the year of the Macintosh being released. I joined in 87, so we only overlapped for about a year, and I really didn't know Curtis back then. He left Apple and followed Steve to Next and was the director of both hardware and software product management. Then he and I both met up again at General Magic. Another very interesting story. But I'm fascinated with what he did afterwards. He went on to work at Sun as the vice president of web and customer experience for 12 years, and then 2 years at Research in Motion, which is also fascinating because that was a competitor of mine 18 years prior at Radio Mail. It was just fun to see our paths cross. And then, he goes on to spend the next 15 years at Samsung in every leadership role you can imagine. This guy is a genius, and I'm just so excited to share with you the phone call I had with him today. So with no further ado, here is my call with Curtis Sasaki.
Hello.
Hey, Curtis, such an honor. Oh my God. Wow. The legendary Curtis Sasaki.
I think you're the legend.
You are so humble. It's so good to see you. Thank you, Curtis,
Yeah, I think
for
I, I think the last time I saw you was at General Magic, right?
I know, like 20 plus years ago.
Jeez,
Amazing.
crazy.
Yeah, I stayed close with Perlman. Steve Perlman was one of my
Yeah.
heroes. And Adam Hertz in
Oh yeah.
particular. He's
Yeah,
actually,
I've seen Adam through the years,
yeah,
especially when he was head of the innovation place in was it
he was with
Comcast?
YouTube. Yeah, he was with YouTube for a while.
Yeah, that was his last gig, I think, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
he switched or something.
Uh, so I was getting ready for our call and I was reading through LinkedIn. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know that you were just the legend at Samsung. I mean, of course, it makes sense. You were, yeah, wow, amazing. And
I,
now,
I
of
thought
course,
yeah,
you
I thought
know,
that was going to be at Samsung for like 2 years, but then it turned out to almost 13 years.
oh my God. Wow. I mean, you are to Samsung what
Tony?
Tony Fidel. You're like the Tony Fidel of Samsung.
Yeah, except I wasn't bought by Google for several billion.
Yeah, yeah, that's okay. That's all right. That's all right. Oh my God. So, and then I'm looking at your profile. Do you know that before I came to General Magic, I was one of the co-founders of Radio Mail in
Oh yeah.
1991, and that
Wow.
was our competitor was Research in Motion, was RIM. I mean, and then you go work for them like 18 years later. But that like was my life before I came to General Magic.
Wow. I
That's
remember radio.
wild. Wow. So our paths, lots
You were
of
you you were at Apple for a bit?
that's where I started. Steve Jobs himself was like my reason for joining.
Yeah, yeah,
And
me
I
too.
met Steve Jobs in 1983, just before 84, the
Ah,
Mac
yeah.
went, live. And my boyfriend at the time worked for Apple, and we're still super close friends. And I got to go to the Apple internal meeting for the sales reps where Jobs himself, unveiled the Mac in
Yeah.
Hawaii. And I was like, oh my God, like that's the future. how do I get on board? And Steve literally said, just go get your engineering degree like the Woz did. So I went to Berkeley. That's why I studied engineering at Cal.
Shoot.
And I got hired in 1986 at Apple. It was my first job.
Which
And
group?
I got to design Twisted Pair Ethernet for Apple
Oh, wow.
Computer for the Macintosh in the late 80s. So like that's like, and then I left Apple to form Radio Mail in 1991 because I knew the next thing was going to be wireless. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
why when I met you at General Magic, I was trying to figure out the wireless strategy because that
yeah,
was my,
yeah.
my forte at the time.
We were before, or we're ahead of our time.
Yeah, I'm always, way ahead. And that's why it was so frustrating, even at General Magic, like how to make this thing, you know, a real consumer device that is wireless. I mean, it took 20 years, right? You joined RIM like almost 20 years later, and
Yeah.
that's when, wireless took off. It needed the infrastructure. And so here we are.
Are
Um,
you are you still in the Bay Area?
I am wherever I guess want to be. I'm currently more in Southern California, but
Oh,
I could
okay.
easily be anywhere. I'm actually living and traveling in this beautiful rock star mothership that I inherited from my mother, and I'm living more in nature. I want to be
Oh,
with the,
nice.
I'm more of a nature girl.
Hmm.
So this is how I feel more connected. But yeah, I drive around in this beautiful, mothership to events or conferences, and it's way more fun. Yeah.
How big is your rig?
It's 45 feet long. It's a bus. It's
Whoa,
really like a rock star, motorhome. It's as big
that's
as they
pretty
make them.
cool.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Um, But yeah, so like I've been, reconnecting with Adam Hertz,
Yeah.
who's now an advisor, and I've been a couple old magicians have reached out to me, kicking the tires, like, what are you doing? Like something's going on over there. And so I want to tell you about it, Curtis, because the
I
what
saw
I re
your I saw your video on LinkedIn.
oh good. Woohoo. So
You don't have to start from scratch.
okay, good, great. I won't start from scratch. Good.
Well, tell me
Just
why. Tell
what?
me like what what inspired you to
Oh man.
create this?
I literally got inspired after a meditation 5 years ago. I literally heard a calling in my head, and the message was, Roger that, Roger that. It's a relatively long story, but the bottom line is, my soul just said, look, I want to figure out how to measure human peak performance, like in a flow state. I want to biometrically measure it, and then the patents I filed are to tokenize it because
Hmm.
that's when you're at your best. And this is the most valuable token I could think of in the crypto world, is a token of inner value, of intrinsic value that you can't even buy with money. It's like each time a token is minted, it's because a human improved themselves.
Hmm.
You don't
Wow.
necessarily have to be a rock star, but we're basically capturing the improvement and validating it and then rewarding it.
Okay.
And so if you saw the video, we're also
Yeah.
even gamifying the ownership of the company. Like we're just saying, hey, we're all about empowerment, and come join us and get in on the game and show yourself that we're going to let people see their raw data, and like like make it a treasure hunt in a way, so it's fun to discover like your true self. And that version of you is not only like the best version of you, it's the happiest version, the most abundant, the healthiest version. It's the one that has the most influence. like like you know you those will be the new influencers, right?
Hmm.
And
Interesting.
so
Yeah.
what I talked to Adam Hertz about is we want to create, he came from YouTube, we want to create FlowTube.
Mm.
And with FlowTube, there's no like button. You just wear, a wearable that's compatible. And if the content like uplifts you measurably, then you get rewarded. And so you can basically get paid to improve yourself. Um,
Wow.
and the content creators, they get rewarded as well if any of their content truly improves people. And that way we just disrupt social media and it disappears.
Do you find content creators figure it out, or do they
Oh
make
yeah, they're
assumptions that
coming
don't work?
they're coming from within. We have this group of, we call them pilots, and this is trademarked the name Soul Compass. Um, the pilots are just like so passionate and so ecstatic about this. They're basically evangelists, and they are creating the content, and
Hmm.
they're in on like the gold hunt for to look for the nuggets of truth in your data, and then we're going to grant them stock options, and then as they apply what they discovered, they unlock the stock. you know so like that's kind of, and then with FlowTube we plan on, I could show you a visual. Actually, why don't I, because you will so get this. We're gonna gamify emotional and mental well-being by doing this. Let me just share my screen real quick. So what we're figuring out is every emotion can be ultimately has a signature to it in your body with your biometrics. And we want to help people identify what they're feeling,
Hmm.
accept it, and then start to improve. If need be,
Okay.
one step at a time, or if you can go faster, you go faster with sufficient technology and AI. It's personalized and customized so that it can even talk to you and ask how you're feeling today, and identify a place in which you're stuck and help you move up. And you get rewarded as you do. So it pays to play, so to speak.
Are you just playing against yourself, or are you actually competing against other people?
No, everything we're doing is more about empowerment and never being compared to anyone else.
Okay, good.
So everyone has their own baseline. And much of the world is different than that. It's a zero sum world of win lose, and everything we do is win win.
Hmm.
And it's more about compassion, it's more about acceptance. And in fact, a flow state we've discovered is a state of no resistance. It's a state of love and acceptance. So you got to start with yourself, and almost, that's a tall order. If you're also, you can't compare yourself to somebody else. Yeah, it's not true love.
What can people do though, right? So
Yeah,
you
they
have to get them
do.
out of that mentality.
Excuse me?
You have to get people out of that mentality, especially Californians in Silicon Valley.
It's interesting, Curtis. We have people all over the world coming on board like every day with, no marketing. It's all organic right now. And
Huh.
the ones who are the most ready for it, they're the ones that are like reaching out to me, calling me somehow, writing to me like, oh my God, I'm like tingling. I've got goosebumps. This is it. I want this. There's no explaining necessary.
Huh. Interesting.
It's like, come on in. This is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
We aren't gonna spend any time actually trying to convince anybody, because that's the hard way. Yeah, it's really, we're taking a light approach where we're just putting it out there, and then like the ones who resonate with it, they rush in. Um, and if they want to debate it, then it's not right. It's not a fit, you
Wow.
know? Yeah, we don't
That's,
we don't want to drag anybody in. Um, we even
I,
have an application process. Like
Ah,
you can't just like buy it. You got to go through this little application, and then that actually helps us and you decide if it's a good fit or not for you. Because it's about empowerment. And
right.
how much, for example, if you believe the sky is falling and you're a victim, this whole thing might just turn you off.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Right? Because you have
Yeah.
to be, open and willing to have a new perspective and to believe it, to trust yourself and believe yourself. And so, yeah, it sort of speaks for itself, and we try to not push it any faster than it's ready to go.
That's pretty cool. I mean, how are you figuring things out? Like just from feedback or,
You know what, Curtis? The way I and my founding team, the way we do almost everything is we each have our own techniques. First, with just literally starting with the rising of the sun and meditation, and just get yourself into that state of alignment where you're
uh-huh.
flowing more of the truth of who you really are. And then the more coherent you are in your heart, and we're able to measure it, the more you can actually you receive literally thoughts, intuition, impulses. Like that's where we get our answers and our solutions, is more from, dare I say, the divine instead of our
Hmm.
head. um,
Yeah.
we still have some heady people involved, and we're kind of coming at it in these different ways, but it's very different. It's more about self organization in seeking the truth, with using less of our limited human belief system. And right now what's causing it to take off is we're actually now letting our users in on the
Hmm.
co-discovery of the next breakthrough and the next truths, instead of us pretending like we know it all. We're saying, hey, how about, you get in on this with us and show yourself that you are powerful, and you don't need to take my word for it, and you don't need to research online and follow somebody else's, because nobody knows what's best for you.
Right. Right.
So
Huh.
it's like an experiment in profound empowerment. And we don't, take, like, I had some people that we both know from Journal Magic reach out to me and want to like work with me and help me figure out how to pitch this to VCs. And I said, that's just never going to work. I cannot change my message to fit their box.
Right.
I just can't anymore, and I won't. So right
Right.
now, we're just gonna we're basically on the edge of breaking even, and then we're just not gonna take any more
Good.
investor money. Yeah. So yes, we're very self-guided. The heart knows. We're very heart driven. Um, I own most of the company as the founder, and I funded most of it myself for 5 years. Although there's plenty of investors that join, I still have like technically 90% of the company, and I put it all into a trust. And I basically am telling my customers, I want you to inherit. So I'm betting everything on them. And
Hmm.
I'm more than willing to share the upside with them, because they are the upside. And that's the future. That's how the future companies, I think, will become the next Apple or the next Samsung, will be the ones who figure out how to be decentralized about it and actually share the upside with their customers. I mean, that's what's driving the blockchain right now.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, that's what
Wow.
I'm trying to figure out. But yeah, I'm really interested in you, because of what I know of you, having worked with you. You were already pretty phenomenal back at General Magic, and now just seeing what you've done since then. And I see that you are kind of free as an advisor.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I would really welcome someone like you. We're starting to think about our advisory board, and especially if someone is willing to dive in with both feet and get themselves a soul compass and figure it out themselves. You could write your own ticket.
I could probably use the
Like, help
knowledge
us,
as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
help us figure this
for sure.
out, because like it's really there is no limit. It's super, super powerful to let, like, even with our contracts with the people involved, we actually have no employment agreements. Right now, everyone's a volunteer and you can leave if you want to. You know, like, there's no handcuffs.
That's
Um,
that's cool. That's really cool.
yeah, we want each of us to create our own stock option grants and then use the power of like what we discovered to become the proof of resonance, proof of coherency, things that are going to replace proof of stake and proof of work, because it's not about
Mhm.
your effort.
Yeah.
Flow is effortless. So just figure out how to get into that super, because when you're in a flow state, not only are you at peak performance and you're flowing your best self, depending on your belief system, what we notice is there's energy coming in from somewhere and it ain't your body. So where are you getting that free energy from? Who knows? But that's like propelling you into being able to be a musician on stage for hours and
Mm.
actually have more energy afterwards, not be exhausted. Like you're actually literally allowing more of this real energy to flow into you. And especially if you get goosebumps, which is one of the things we measure, you are in a state of resonance with your, we call it your true self. And that version of you has the power to influence everyone else's true self. So that's why a musician can write a hit song in a matter of seconds when he or she is in a flow state. They are receiving information that harmonically resonates with everyone in a higher state. So, or marketing. So you're a marketing genius. You just, like Steve Jobs knew, like the 1984 commercial, he turned that into a legendary commercial for the
Yeah.
Macintosh. Like he was in a flow state and and it doesn't always agree with others who are not flowing. They thought that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he went forward and he did a lot of things like that, including, believe it or not, the Apple stores were
Yeah.
not a great idea at the time. He was trying to present it to the board. They're like, Steve, have you noticed there's this thing called the internet and stores are being closed? Those are like old news, dude. Why are
Yeah.
you wanting, stores, Apple stores? And I mean, I literally was able to tune into him and I got that he could so get into this flow state and see the future. And he's just always ahead of the game. And so now, of course, Apple stores are in every major city in every country. Has,
Yeah.
you know, like, and so when you're in a flow state, you can kind of rise above everyone else's lower false beliefs and you just have the winning ticket.
Mm.
And so that answers a lot of your questions about how do we work and where do I get my, my
Yeah.
guidance.
Yeah.
And if you were to collaborate with us, I would expect nothing less. That, like, you already know how to do that. You demonstrated that when I first met you, and you've clearly been doing that for Samsung. I mean,
Right.
it's a huge success, right? That's why it's so successful. You don't even probably know how you're doing it, but you're doing it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And-
No, you're right.
yeah. And I can still remember times with you when I was very naive and very young back then, and I was really being very forceful about and one-sided in my arguments with wireless. And I can still remember, that's what I remember the most about you, is how you actually could show me how to give both sides. And there's power in that because you're not trying to overpower your listeners. You're not trying to shove something down their throats or into their brain. you're actually being more allowing and open and neutral and letting the truth speak for itself and letting each person decide if that resonates for them, because nobody wants somebody else to tell them what the answers are.
That's something I also learned from working with Steve closely.
Mm-hmm.
If to get Steve to agree to things, you have to make it his idea. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
actually a technique I
Yeah.
actually utilized on
Yeah.
him, especially when I left Apple and he started Next.
Oh, right.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
I was his product guy, right? So
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I didn't know that. Oh my God.
yeah, I had to deal with him for so many things.
Oh my God.
The
Wow.
most minor
Yeah.
things, like a color of a
Right.
box to
Sure.
operating system features.
Yeah. I mean, he was a pretty intense person.
Yeah, yeah,
And so is Perlman.
yeah.
He's amazing as well. It's hard to be that radical, especially when, others want your approval.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So it takes a pretty, you have to be a pretty secure person, uh,
Yeah,
to trust yourself, and yet paradoxically also be open to higher truths, and not get really stuck on yourself.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
so
moved for myself years
that's,
ago.
yeah, yeah, I can see that. I can't imagine how you did this at Samsung. I mean, that's such a big organization.
Yeah, it's also a cultural thing, right? It's
Yeah.
it's
Oh my God.
they operate sort of like the military, very
Yeah.
top down,
Right.
typically.
Right. Yeah.
So figuring things out in that environment,
Mhm.
being a U.S. person and only working for U.S. companies
Okay.
was interesting, right? Because
Yeah.
you figure out that they actually don't. Well, they actually respect people who actually will speak their mind.
Oh, good. Really? Okay.
And well, unfortunately, in Korea, though,
Yeah, they don't.
the way they're sort of educated is like the military, right? Because in
Mm-hmm.
Korea, you have to serve 2 years
Yeah.
in the military.
Right.
So they would never question or bring up alternative options to
Mm-hmm.
their boss.
Right.
But me being naive, I would always like say what was on my mind. And it got
Yeah.
to the interesting point where when I traveled to Korea, if the VPs knew I was coming, they would say, "Hey, can you bring up this particular topic with my boss?"
Right.
So,
Express,
uh,
yeah, permission to speak freely.
yeah, it's
Permission to
quite
have
interesting.
Curtis speak for me. Yeah, it's a totally different culture. That's why I'm like amazed how well you did there. And now, you've sort of experienced such extremes, right? You've
Yeah.
been at Apple, you've been at Samsung, you've been at General Magic, and you've worked with all sorts of experts
Characters,
on both sides
characters,
of the river, so to speak, or the
yeah,
ocean,
right.
right? I mean, like, what we're doing is perhaps could not be more opposite. Um,
I think it sounds like it's people need it, especially in this day and age,
yeah,
where so
absolutely.
much of what's going on is negative.
I know exactly, and we won't go there. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and so many products and so many services, they might start up here, but then they end up focusing too much on what's wrong and what the
right.
illness is or
Yeah,
what your problem is. And even pitches are all about what's the problem you're gonna. I'm like, you know
right.
what? We're not gonna go there. Um, we're not even gonna focus on whenever you're not at your best, because that would just hold everybody back. Uh,
Mm.
we've made it a business decision. It's in our DNA that our focus will always be your wellness and your happiness and your fulfillment. And even though you can see yourself dipping, we are not gonna like other than flow tube where we help you move up, we're just not gonna like point it out. You know, um, I come from a world of engineering and science, and a lot of people who are even studying wellness and flow are very linear and very heady. They're really think that their human mind is gonna be able to, like, unlock the secrets.
Yeah.
And the heart is very nonlinear. And we're not even going to measure brain waves ever. Like, nope. Everybody, you go buy somebody else's product. That's not ours. We've discovered that you're actually happiest and in a flow state when you're meditating and you're not even thinking. Like it, because a flow state is a super high resonant state, and it's beyond even your mind to keep up with the thoughts.
I
With the
see.
Yeah, so and in those who have been studied, your mind goes at first into a state of coherence with different brain waves and different like gamma waves. But at the highest point of like complete, profound connection and flow, it looks like white noise. It looks like full on chaos.
Wow.
And what we now understand that to mean is your brain waves and anything else we can measure, you're actually harmonizing with infinite harmonics at that point. You're no longer fixed even in your body. And so you're harmonizing with harmonics that have infinite frequencies. And that's
Huh.
why it looks like white noise.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. We're of course looking at heart rate variability, but a
Yeah.
whole lot more. Like we've noticed, as your resting rate goes down, which happens in extreme athletes, the variation in the beats goes up. There's a direct correlation with lowering your resting heart rate. And it's funny, you've heard the saying, my heart just skipped a beat.
Uh-huh.
There's truth in that. I've even noticed it myself. My resting heart rate when I'm in a flow state, even if it's just brief, will drop in half as if I'm
Wow.
skipping beats. Yeah.
Wow.
And so we're looking for these patterns, um, and we're letting our users look at it too. And together, we're just going to break through the barriers of even what science thinks, which often focuses on humans as a closed loop. They don't include your non physical, divine, spiritual self. It's like, nope, nope, no, 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 no. It's all about physics and matter.
Right.
And we don't go there. We don't talk about the non physical because it
Yeah.
doesn't exist. And so they can't allow, even in their beliefs, this possibility that a flow state is actually the fountain of youth. It's the mode in which you're replenishing and you're anti-aging. We have one guy who's one of our founders. He's 70 years old, and he looks and his metrics look like 45. Uh,
Wow.
and he can hold the metrics that we're measuring. He can hold them at 100% for hours with no perturbation. I'm like, oh my God, are you even real anymore? you know so think of us as a platform for humans becoming superhumans. That's the best way to put it. Actualized superhumans. And
So should I try the
yeah,
lesson? Okay.
you absolutely should try it. I
Okay.
recommend, just so you have the full experience, is go to
Yeah.
our website and take yourself through our application.
Okay.
It's mostly multiple choice, but it will give you a lot of insights on our philosophies and what we're looking for. And right away, you'll get results, and you'll be invited to join. and you'll be told what compatible hardware works. You'll be given an opportunity to subscribe. It's only $12 a month for the data. We're making it, this is where I could use your help because you're the genius when it comes to marketing. I've just made it really easy for people to join and try it out. And then we have the advanced model where you can look at your raw data, but we're going to give you a simple dashboard on your mobile phone, both iPhone or Android, to just look at things just to kind of see some simple overlays of your coherency, your allowance, your balance. And then weekly we have calls, live calls with our pilots, and it's about to in about 2 weeks from now, we're going to offer this advanced version for more, where you get to look at your raw data on a web interface. And just like TradingView, you like click the boxes and choose to overlay, different features. And it's still new that it's mostly about your heart data, but we can look at the power in your heart data. There's different frequencies that make up your heartbeat, and you can look at the power spectrum in the frequency domain and in the time domain, your heart rate variability. So you can look at both, and then soon you'll be able to overlap. We're also looking at the coherence in the phase between these frequencies. Are they in phase? Like, are they constructively going up together, or are they, like running into each other and deconstructing? So, and that's just with Garmin. Garmin is the main watch that we're using, because Aura, Fitbit, they just wouldn't let us have access to a high enough sampling rate. So the Garmin, we're getting your heartbeat every 15 seconds. We're getting information. With Apple, it's only like once a minute. So the sampling rate's even worse. But this is good enough. We can tell a lot from this. And then we have some rings we sourced from China that look a lot like Oura Ring. And with that, we can have data by the second. So we'll have much higher resolution, and we can actually customize these rings and have other sensors added on them, because we really want to measure your skin conductivity, skin resistivity, and what's called the galvanic skin response, which is goosebumps or truth bumps.
Does measuring oxygen at all help or not?
We can get that from Garmin. We've looked at it. It's just we're not seeing any, maybe we're not getting enough information because it's a consumer device. And we won't go down the medical path. We never ever want to go head to head with medicine. We're like, no, we already know. We're not going to look for FDA approval. We're just focused on consumer grade. We're just trying to feel better. We're just trying to improve. Just call it self-improvement. Nothing that requires a license. So yeah, I mean, I've been curious with oxygen, and I do look at it. I just haven't seen any dramatic changes, but we're right at the beginning, Curtis. This is so brand new and so revolutionary that, and I've been working on it for 5 years, so it just takes time. And I'm reminding myself, it's like wireless took a long time. This is going to take some time, but wearables, it's a $1 trillion market, and it's just going to grow. Human improvement is a growing market, and self-improvement is even more important as we go forward. Decentralization is more important. Sharing the value with our customers is really our secret sauce that makes it so that it doesn't even matter if somebody copies us. Good luck. You'd have to give away the farm, and almost nobody's willing to do that. So that's our Trojan horse right there. And that's because, in a flow state, you're all in. You're not playing it safe. There's more. You feel abundant, and abundance just begets more. So, you
Cool.
know,
So I will give it a try.
yeah, give it a try. Join our little group,
Mhm.
kick it around. And, in a matter of weeks, we'll bring you into the big kids pool, the big table, and if you find yourself inspired, then we just go from there.
All right. That
Yeah,
sounds good.
super. Thank you, Curtis. Really good
Yeah.
to see you.
It's so great to
Yeah.
see you after 30 years or something, 20 years.
Yeah. And are you in the Bay Area? Is that where you are?
Um, I actually have two homes, one in Bay Area and one up north in a town called Grass Valley,
Oh
which is
yeah, I
where I'm
know
at
it.
now.
I know it's beautiful.
What?
Wow, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, on the
And
way
my
to
daughter,
Sacramento, Nevada
yeah,
City. Yeah. Stunning
exactly.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my daughter moved up here after she graduated from law school.
Oh wow.
And then we decided to, you know,
Nice.
have a house out here too, so we can spend time with her and she has two sons.
Yeah.
So we have two grandsons up here. So
Wow, nice. So
yeah,
are you kind of retired? Is that it? And just playing
yeah,
advisor for things that turn you on?
you got it.
Okay, got it. I saw you working with the guys at Pure Watercraft.
Yeah,
Andy
well, I
Rebley.
helped him Andy's product team
Nice.
um, with
Amazing.
a lot of the details, from how do you do over there updating to even like the cabling,
Yeah. Oh my God. Wow. Everything.
which was a big challenge. And
Okay.
even the throttle design and
Right.
a lot of little details I helped them through
Right.
he's asking the right questions and
Yeah.
making sure that was in their spec.
Well, it would be a real honor. I mean, just having this call feels really inspiring to me. Um, I really have always believed in you, and I think it would be freaking amazing to have your insights on what we're doing. And we are more than open. There are no um, everyone on the team is so incredibly open to wanting it to be better. So like nobody's holding each other back. There's just so much room basically to go do whatever you want, you know,
Cool.
and also sharing the upside, right, with whoever brings the value. So
Nice.
I think you might
Cool.
find yourself really free to
Good.
create.
Hey, you have to send me some pictures of your bus.
I will. I will. I will. I think I've got your cell phone number. I'll send you photos. I use WhatsApp because the company's actually based
Yeah.
in Switzerland. That's
Wow.
where I was. I married a woman from Switzerland like 10 years ago, and that's where I was living when I received the ideas. But I've
Huh.
since moved back to the US. And but the company itself is actually, the code name is Roger That. And we also created another equity holding company in the Cayman Islands. So like we're pretty cool as a company in terms of our ability to just do what we want.
Right.
Here I am in the US, but don't even don't have to play by US rules.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so
Right.
cool. All
All
right,
right.
good. Well, it'll be
Sounds
fun
good.
to I'll send you our website. You
Yep.
probably have it, right?
I have it. I have it already.
Yeah, and on the front page there's apply to Soul Compass. So just go through
Okay.
that, and
All right.
if nothing else, it'll probably amuse you.
So good.
Cool. All
All
right,
right.
Curtis.
We'll talk
Thank
soon.
you. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.